Hello and welcome. Today I want to show you an exercise, sort of a drill type of thing that you can use for improvisation. And what it does, it breaks it down into 4 simple chords. And you can actually make it with 3 if you like, but it's basically the 2-5-1. And we'll start out in the key of C because that's the easiest, of course. And then you can work it into other keys, but basically what it is, the 2 chord is going to be a D minor 7, the 5 chord is going to be a G7, or a G dominant 7, and the 1 chord is going to be a C major 7. So what we are using are the scale tone 7ths, and we're creating a progression that goes 2, 5, 1. But we're going to invert the 5 chord, so we're going to bring it down 2 inversions, which is actually the second inversion of a G7. So the notes are D, F, A, C for the D minor 7, then D, F, G, B for the G7, and then C, E, G, B for the C major 7. That's the 2-5-1 progression. Now, if you look at it closer, actually what's happening here is that going from the D minor 7 to the G7, we're moving these 2 white notes down 1 white note each. So this one's moving a whole step, this is moving a half. And then we move, that's the G7 inverted. Then we move the bottom 2 white notes down 1 white note each. So this one moves, this one here in the 3rd finger moves down a half step, and the one in the 5th finger moves down a whole step. So it's kind of like the same thing happens in the lower part as happens in the upper part. You see, this moves a half whole. Now when you get to there, half whole. Now that formula works in any key, so you can try this in other keys. It'll like in F, it's this. So it's the same exact combination of moves, but you have to deal with sharps and flats, of course. So now that's the simple thing that you can do. In other words, we'll say this will be the D minor 7 will have 4 beats, or it'll be 1 measure. The G7 will have 4 beats and be 1 measure, and the C major 7 will have 2 measures. And to make it a little more interesting, we can play the first measure as C major 7 and the second measure as C major 6. Like that. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. That's the simplest way to do it. Now, eventually what we're going to do is we're going to change that 4th chord so that it becomes a diminished that is going to approach the D minor. But for now, we want to keep it simple, and we want to just use the C scale to improvise. So we're going to use all these notes, all the white notes we can use in various combinations. So first of all, I just want to get used to playing. Okay, sorry about that. My card ran out of space again. So again, what we're doing here, let's look at this. This is a root position D minor 7, which means it's built from the root up. So it has the root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. And of course, in this case, the 3rd is a minor 3rd, and the 7th is also a minor 7th, because if it was major, it'd be this. That would be D major 7. So D minor 7, and it also fits the scale tone, so it fits the key of C. Then we move to the G7 by inverting it in this way, moving these 2 notes down, and then we move, and that's a second inversion of a G7 like that. And then we move down to the root position of a C major 7. That's what's happening in the left hand. And then the last chord we'll play as a C6. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. And that's the simplest way to do it. And now you don't even need to count or think about time yet. You want to just get notes to sound right. I might put a chromatic in there, but maybe like that. So I'm hitting a target tone now, which is a chord tone of the G, like this. So you want to move and then land on a target tone. Whoops, sorry. Right? So now that makes sense, because it's moving from passing tones to target tones where they belong. Like that. Right? that. That kind of thing. Okay, so when you get, after you practice it that way, you want to begin to start to play it with a tempo. And you can use a metronome if you wish. It's a good way to practice it. So let's just try that with a metronome. So you can put the metronome now on, just put it on quarter notes slowly. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Now you have to make those target tones hit in the right place. Out of the view here, but you get the idea of how I'm hitting the target tones. Now the target tones are always the chord tones. Let's shut this off for a minute. But in other words, the target tones are always the notes that are in the chord, like the root, third, fifth, seventh. I'm talking about now when you're first starting. As you get more advanced, you can have more interesting target tones like ninths and even flat fives and different things like that. But when you get into bebop, you can use any note as a target tone. But we're going to just use the chord tones for target tones to start out with. So that's the beginning of it. In other words, so you first start it out, get that progression in your left hand going, and then try to get your right hand playing scales and what I call it arpeggiated motion, scales ascending, descending, and then skips ascending, descending, and try to land on target tones. In other words, chord tones where they need to be. In other words, on strong beats like the first beat of the measure would be the strongest, of course. So you like this. Like that. This is sort of like composing, but you're doing it in the spur of the moment. You're doing it like right in the now. It's not, you're not writing it down or thinking it out. You're just letting it come out. This is spontaneous improvisation. So eventually it gets into something like this. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next step. Okay, continuing now, we're going to play this one, this progression. Now we're going to add one more chord, which is the C sharp diminished. So that's going to be the fourth chord. So we're going to have D minor 7 for one measure, G7 inverted. Of course, the D minor 7 is in root position. The G7 is inverted into second inversion. The C major 7 is in root position. Then we're going to add this C sharp diminished. Now what is a diminished chord? Well, it's built on a C sharp, so it goes up 3 half tones. Okay, so they're minor third intervals. Up. Each of these is a minor third. Okay, it has actually 2 tritones in it. That's another lesson, but anyway. That wants to move to the D minor. So now you create a nice sequence here where you have the D minor 7 wanting to move to G7, G7 wanting to resolve to C, and then putting a chord in there that wants to move back through the cycle to D minor 7. Now if you look at that, it's a C sharp diminished, but another way to look at it is it could be an A7 chord with a flat 9 in it, like that. And the A7 wants to go where? It wants to go to D, right? A7 is 5 of D, it wants to go like that, or to D major. A7 is the 5/7 of D, and it wants to resolve to D. So in this case, it's resolving to D minor, like that. And we're adding the 7th here. So now we have another chord in there that's going to be interesting to improvise on because it's got accidentals in it. So now we have to add some accidentals to the scale. Right? probably those. That one. Actually, there's a diminished scale we can use. It goes whole step from the D flat, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Or we even do. Or this one. So we'll just add some of those accidentals to black note. We'll add those 2 black notes in on our scale. That's the simplest way to do it. So now we have this. So that's what I did. So see how that works? So okay, so that's a start. Now we're just going to keep it that simple for now. If you do it in F, it's the same progression. Now the 4th chord would be an F sharp diminished. And the next part of this video, I'm going to show you how to invert these chords, because this same progression now can be inverted up to here. Now you're getting even a different sound. You can add flat 9s in there and all kinds of things, so it gets really interesting. Okay, I hope you enjoy this. Okay, just to recap now, what we did in this video is we're learning to improvise on a simple progression, which is a 2-5-1. So it's this progression in the key of C, and that keeps it simple because all we have to do now in the right hand is play on the white notes, or the scale of C major. But we have to be mindful of where the target notes are and when they fall, and it has to make sense to our ears. So this is a very good exercise because we're going to always be playing on 2-5-1 progressions whenever we play standard tunes, whether they be jazz tunes or popular songs. And so the 2-5-1 is the most common progression you're going to see in your songs. Just look for them in any lead sheet you look at. And so the more you get, the better you get at playing on a 2-5-1 progression, the better you will be able to improvise on any song. So we just start out with that as a drill. And we start out very simply, and then we move into the more complex, start to use inversions, start to add more notes to the chord, and so on and so on, begin to add chromatic notes in the right hand. So you might want to check out my theory book. It covers all of this from my website. You can check out the table of contents, and it shows some of the advanced concepts of improvisation as well as the beginning concepts. Okay, thanks for watching.